Have you ever had one of those moments in your life when suddenly, quietly, without any noise at all, something inside of you simply understood? Not intellectually, not because somebody convinced you, not because you read it in a book or heard it in a lecture or repeated it as an affirmation long enough for the mind to accept it. I'm speaking about a deeper kind of knowing, a knowing that rises from the center of your being and whispers, yes, this is true. And when that kind of understanding comes, your world does not remain the same. It cannot. Because the moment your consciousness changes, your experience of life begins to change with it. Tonight I want to speak to you about a truth that may sound simple when you first hear it, but if you allow it to settle into your heart, if you allow it to become more than an idea, it can transform the way you experience everything. Your relationships, your health, your abundance, your peace, your purpose, your entire sense of what it means to be alive. And the truth is this: the universe is not responding to what you say you want. It is responding to who you are being. Now, I want you to pause with that for a moment, because most of us were raised to believe that life rewards effort alone. We were told that if we worked harder, pushed longer, struggled more, and proved ourselves enough, then perhaps one day life would open its doors to us. So we chase, we strive, we force, we try to make things happen. We try to convince the world that we are worthy. But there is another way to live. There is a way of living in which you stop begging life to give you what you desire, and you begin aligning yourself with the consciousness of already being one with it. You see, your consciousness is always broadcasting, not sometimes. Not only when you meditate, not only when you pray, not only when you sit quietly with your eyes closed and your hands folded. Every moment of your life, you are sending out a signal. And that signal is not merely your words. It is not even your thoughts alone. It is the state of being you occupy. It is the silent feeling you carry within you when no one else is watching. It is the assumption you live from. It is what you believe yourself to be worthy of receiving. It is how deeply you allow life to move through you. Most people spend their lives trying to change the outer world while remaining the same inwardly. They want new circumstances, but they continue living from the same old identity. They want love, but they carry the vibration of not being chosen. They want abundance, but they secretly feel separate from supply. They want peace, but they live in resistance to the present moment. And then they wonder why life keeps repeating itself. But the outer world is not the cause. The outer world is the mirror. Your consciousness is the cause. When you understand this, you stop fighting with reflections. You stop trying to rearrange shadows. You stop asking the mirror to smile first. You begin to smile within, and then the mirror must reflect it back. This is why I have often said that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Not because the world is magical in a childish sense, but because perception is creative. Consciousness is creative. The state from which you look determines what you are able to see. And when you begin to see differently, you begin to live differently. Now, listen very carefully. The universe is not separate from you. This is one of the great spiritual misunderstandings. We speak of the universe as though it is some distant power outside of us, somewhere beyond the stars, deciding whether or not to grant our requests. But the universe is not an external authority sitting in judgment over your life. The universe is life itself, and you are not outside of life. You are an expression of it. The same intelligence that grows the flower, moves the planets, breathes through the trees, beats your heart and guides the migration of birds is also moving in you. It is not near you. It is not above you. It is not separate from you. It is you extended. When you begin to live from that awareness, you no longer feel like a beggar at the door of existence. You no longer approach life with your hands empty saying, please give me something. You begin to realize that you are already within the field of everything you seek. And your work is not to force life. Your work is to align with it. Your work is not to make miracles happen. Your work is to remove the resistance that prevents you from recognizing that life itself is miraculous. So many people are waiting to feel alive. They say, when I get the relationship, then I will feel alive. When I get the money, then I will feel alive. When my body is healed, then I will feel alive. When the right opportunity comes, then I will finally begin to live. But I want to say something to you tonight, and I want you to hear it not as a concept, but as an invitation. Feeling alive is not the result of getting what you want. Feeling alive is a state from which what you want begins to find you. You do not need to wait for life to give you permission to be fully alive. You do not need to wait for the world to approve of your joy. You do not need to wait until every problem is solved before you allow your spirit to breathe. Aliveness is your natural state. You were born with it. Before the world told you who you should be, before you learned fear, a curiosity, a presence, a sense of wonder, a quiet trust that has not disappeared. It has only been covered by fear, covered by disappointment, covered by old assumptions, covered by the belief that life must be difficult, that joy must be earned, that blessings must be deserved, that peace must come later. But underneath all of that, the life force within you is still there, waiting, not demanding, not condemning, simply waiting for you to return to it. Think of a flower. A flower does not struggle to bloom. It does not wake up in the morning and say, I must try harder to become what I am. It does not compare itself to the tree beside it. It does not ask whether it deserves sunlight. It simply opens according to its nature. And you too have a nature. Your nature is expansion. Your nature is love. Your nature is peace. Your nature is creativity. Your nature is to feel connected to the invisible source that gives life to all things. But when you live in contraction, when you live in fear, when you live constantly bracing yourself against life, you cut yourself off from the experience of that nature. Not from the nature itself, because nothing can separate you from what you truly are, but from the experience of it. And this is why consciousness matters so deeply. Your consciousness determines what you are available to receive. The universe may be offering you love, but if your consciousness is tuned to rejection, you will not recognize it. The universe may be offering you abundance, but if your consciousness is tuned to lack, you will push it away or fail to see the doorway. The universe may be offering you guidance, but if your consciousness is filled with noise, you will not hear the whisper. This is why silence is so powerful. This is why stillness is so powerful. This is why prayer is not merely speaking to God, but listening from the place where God is already speaking through you. Most people pray from fear. They pray as though they are trying to convince the divine to care. But true prayer is not begging. True prayer is alignment. True prayer is the movement from separation into union. It is the moment when you stop saying, please make this happen, and begin feeling, I am one with the source from which all good flows. That is not arrogance. That is remembrance. You are not here to dominate life. You are here to cooperate with it. You are not here to demand from the universe. You are here to become a clear channel through which the universe can express itself. Now, many people ask, how do I receive the blessings that are meant for me? And the answer is not complicated, but it does require honesty. You receive by becoming available. You become available by changing your inner state. And you change your inner state by no longer giving your outer circumstances the power to define who you are. This is where most people lose their way. They look at what is happening around them and then decide who they are. If there is no money, they say, I am poor. If there is no relationship, they say, I am unwanted. If there is no success yet, they say, I am failing. If there is uncertainty, they say, I am unsafe. But the spiritual master does not allow circumstances to name him. The awakened person does not ask the world, who am I today? The awakened person turns within and says, I am sourced by something greater than appearances. I am not limited by what my senses report. I am not the condition. I am the consciousness observing the condition. This does not mean you deny reality. It means you stop worshiping it. There is a difference. To deny reality is to pretend something is not there. To transcend reality is to understand that what is there is not the final authority. Your bank account is information. It is not your identity. Your past is information. It is not your destiny. Your body's current condition is information. It is not the totality of your being. The opinion of another person is information. It is not the voice of God. When you begin to live this way, you become free. Not because nothing difficult ever happens, but because difficulty no longer has permission to define your consciousness. And once your consciousness is no longer enslaved by circumstance, everything begins to shift. You begin to notice synchronicities. You begin to meet the right people. You begin to feel guided. You begin to sense that life is not against you. You begin to understand that what looked like delay was preparation. What looked like loss was clearing. What looked like rejection was redirection. What looked like silence was the universe teaching you to listen more deeply. And slowly you stop asking, why is this happening to me? You begin asking, what is life trying to awaken through me? That question changes everything, because life is always awakening something through you. Even your longing has intelligence in it. Your desire is not random. It is not an accident. It is not something to be ashamed of. But desire must be understood properly. Desire is not meant to make you feel incomplete. Desire is meant to point you toward an expanded version of yourself. When you desire peace, it is because peace already exists as a possibility within your consciousness. When you desire love, it is because love is part of your essential nature. When you desire abundance, it is because life itself is abundant and seeks fuller expression through you. But if you desire from lack, you create more lack. If you desire from desperation, you strengthen the feeling of separation. If you desire from the belief that you do not have, you keep confirming the state of not having. So the invitation is not to stop desiring. The invitation is to desire from wholeness. To say, this desire is not proof that I am missing something. This desire is evidence that life is calling me into a fuller expression of what I already am. That is a very different energy. One energy says, I need this in order to be complete. The other says, I am complete, and from my completeness, I allow this expression to unfold. The first is grasping. The second is allowing. The first creates tension. The second creates magnetism. And that word is important, magnetism. You do not attract what you want by chasing it in panic. You attract what matches the field you are living in. Your consciousness becomes magnetic when it rests in the assumption of already being connected to the good you seek. This is why some people seem to attract opportunities effortlessly. It is not because the universe loves them more. It is because they are living from a state that allows those opportunities to appear. And this is also why others struggle endlessly. Not because they are being punished, not because they are unworthy, but because inwardly they are identified with struggle. They have made struggle part of who they are. They cannot imagine receiving without pain. They cannot imagine ease without guilt. They cannot imagine blessing without waiting for something to go wrong. So even when good comes, they resist it. They question it. They sabotage it. They say this is too good to be true. And life, being the perfect mirror that it is, reflects that assumption. But you can choose again. That is the beautiful thing. At any moment you can choose again. You are not trapped by yesterday's consciousness. You are not condemned by old assumptions. You are not imprisoned by the identity you learned in pain. You can return to the present moment and say, I am willing to see this differently. I am willing to be different within myself. I am willing to stop rehearsing limitation. I am willing to allow more life. And the moment you do that sincerely, a new door opens. Perhaps not outwardly at first, but inwardly, and every outer change begins as an inner opening. Now I want you to think about a time in your life when you felt truly alive. Not merely excited, not distracted, not entertained, truly alive. Perhaps you were standing by the ocean. Perhaps you were holding someone you loved. Perhaps you were creating something. Perhaps you were in prayer. Perhaps you were alone, but not lonely. Perhaps there was no special reason at all, and suddenly you felt connected to everything. In that moment, you were not trying to become alive. You were not negotiating with life. You were not asking permission. You simply were. That state is still within you. And here is the secret. The circumstance did not create the state. The circumstance gave you permission to access a state that already existed within your consciousness. But you do not need to wait for the circumstance. You can learn to access the state now. This is the great turning point. Most people say, when things change, I will feel different. But the awakened person says, when I feel different, things will begin to change. Not through force, through law. The law of consciousness, the law of correspondence, the law that says the inner and outer are not two separate things, but two expressions of the same reality. As within, so without. As you assume, so you experience. As you are being, so life responds. This is not fantasy. This is the way every transformation begins. Before a person becomes free outwardly, they must become free inwardly. Before abundance appears externally, it must become natural internally. Before love is received, love must no longer feel foreign to the heart. Before peace fills your home, peace must first be welcomed into your nervous system. And so your task is not to run around trying to manage every event. Your task is to manage your state. Not control it harshly. Not judge yourself when fear appears. but gently, lovingly, consistently return to the consciousness of your highest truth. When fear says you are alone, you return and say, I am supported by the intelligence that breathes me. When lack says there is not enough, you return and say, I live in a universe of infinite supply, and I am open to receiving in ways I cannot yet imagine. When doubt says it is too late, you return and say, there is no lateness in the eternal now. Life can move through me at any age, in any season, under any condition. When the past says, this is who you are, you return and say, no, that is what I experienced. It is not what I am. This is spiritual discipline, not punishment, not pressure. Discipline simply means remembering what is real. And what is real? The presence within you, the awareness behind the thoughts, the love beneath the fear, the life force beneath the fatigue, the infinite beneath the temporary. When you live from that place, you become less reactive. You stop allowing every small event to pull you out of alignment. You no longer hand your peace to traffic, to emails, to opinions, to delays, to the mood of another person. You begin to say, my state is sacred. I will not give it away so easily. And when you protect your state, you protect your future, because your state is always creating. Every moment of resentment creates more reasons to resent. Every moment of gratitude creates more reasons to be grateful. Every moment of fear strengthens the world fear sees. Every moment of love reveals the world love knows. So ask yourself tonight, what state have I been living from? Not what do I say I believe? Not what do I want others to think about me? But what state have I truly been occupying when I wake up, when I speak to myself, when I imagine my future, when I look at my body, when I think about money, when I face uncertainty? Have I been living as someone who trusts life, or as someone who expects disappointment? Have I been living as someone who is open to miracles, or as someone who believes miracles happen only to other people? Have I been living as someone who is loved, or as someone still waiting to be chosen? Be honest, not cruel, honest, because honesty is the doorway to freedom. You cannot change a state you are unwilling to notice. But once you notice it, you are no longer completely identified with it. You become the observer. And the observer is already freer than the pattern. From that place you can choose. And choice is one of the greatest gifts given to you. You can choose to stop rehearsing the worst. You can choose to stop telling the old story. You can choose to stop calling yourself by names that pain gave you. You can choose to stop shrinking to fit environments that were never meant to hold your full light. You can choose to live as though the good you desire is already moving toward you, because in consciousness it is. Now, this does not mean you sit passively and do nothing. That is a misunderstanding. Inspired action has its place, but action taken from alignment is very different from action taken from desperation. Desperate action says, I must make this happen or I am not safe. Inspired action says, I am guided and I move because life is moving through me. Desperate action is heavy. Inspired action is clean. Desperate action drains you. Inspired action may require effort, but it does not require the betrayal of your soul. When you are aligned, you still act, you still make the call, you still write the book, you still apply for the opportunity, you still have the conversation, you still take care of your body, you still show up. But you are no longer acting to prove your worth. You are acting as an expression of it. That is freedom. And when you live this way, life begins to surprise you. Not always in the way the ego planned, often in better ways. A door you never considered opens. A person you did not expect appears. An idea arrives in silence. A delay protects you. A disappointment redirects you. A quiet inner nudge saves you from forcing something that was never aligned. And you begin to realize that the universe has been communicating all along. You were simply too busy demanding one specific answer to notice the guidance. This is why surrender is so important. Surrender does not mean giving up your desire. Surrender means giving up your argument with life. It means you stop saying, it must happen only this way, through this person, by this date, in this form, or I cannot be at peace. That is not faith. That is fear dressed as control. Real faith says, I know what I desire, but I also know that the intelligence of life can see pathways I cannot see. I am willing to be guided. I am willing to receive in forms my mind did not design. And when you surrender like that, you do not become weak. You become available available to grace, available to timing, available to protection, available to possibilities beyond the limited imagination of the conditioned mind. So tonight I want you to practice a new way of being, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now, right here, as you listen to these words, allow your shoulders to soften, allow your breath to deepen, allow the body to remember that it does not have to carry the entire universe. There is an intelligence already carrying the stars. It can carry you too. Let yourself feel, even for a moment, that nothing is missing from the essence of who you are. You may still have desires. You may still have dreams. You may still have things unfolding. But at the level of your being, nothing is missing. You are not incomplete. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not separate from the source of your good. Feel that. Do not just think it. Feel it. Because feeling is the language of consciousness. And consciousness is the doorway through which your future enters. Let your inner world become familiar with peace before peace has an external reason. Let your body become familiar with abundance before the numbers change. Let your heart become familiar with love before the person arrives. Let your spirit become familiar with freedom before the circumstances rearrange. This is living from the end. This is assuming the state. This is becoming the version of yourself who no longer begs life to begin, because life is already moving within you. And as you do this consistently, not perfectly, but consistently, you will notice something remarkable. The old world will begin to lose its grip. The same situations may appear, but you will not react in the same way. The same voices may speak, but they will not enter you as deeply. The same fears may knock, but you will not invite them to live inside you. And slowly, the outer world will reorganize around the new inner state. Because it must. Life reflects consciousness. The universe responds to being, and the field around you cannot remain unchanged when the field within you has transformed. So do not underestimate a single moment of expanded awareness. Do not underestimate one moment of gratitude. Do not underestimate one breath taken in trust. Do not underestimate one decision to stop identifying with fear. These moments are not small. They are creative. They are seeds. And every future experience grows from the seeds you plant in consciousness today. If you plant resentment, do not be surprised when bitterness grows. If you plant lack, do not be surprised when scarcity continues. If you plant fear, do not be surprised when life appears threatening. But if you plant love, if you plant trust, if you plant aliveness, if you plant the quiet assumption that you are supported by a benevolent intelligence, then your life must begin to bear different fruit. Not because you manipulated it, because you aligned with law. And law is impersonal. The sun does not shine only on those who deserve it. It shines because shining is its nature. The universe does not withhold from you because you made mistakes. It responds to the state you occupy. So occupy a new state, not with strain, with devotion. Return to it each morning. Return to it when you forget. Return to it when the world is noisy. Return to it when the evidence has not yet arrived. Return to it when doubt says nothing is changing, because the deepest changes often happen invisibly first. The seed does not announce itself while it is breaking open beneath the soil. The dawn does not ask your permission before it begins. The miracle does not always look like a miracle while it is being arranged. Trust the unseen. Trust the inner shift. Trust the quiet preparation. Trust the life that is moving for you even when your senses cannot yet confirm it. And remember this, you are not here merely to survive. You are not here merely to get through the day, pay the bills, manage the stress, and reach the end exhausted. You are here to awaken. You are here to remember. You are here to become a living expression of the divine intelligence that placed you here. You are here to feel the fullness of life moving through you. You are here to love, to create, to give, to receive, to forgive, to expand, to shine. And every time you shrink, some part of the universe waits for you to return. Not with judgment, with patience, with love, with a quiet whisper saying, come back to who you are. So as you leave this moment, do not leave with another technique only. Do not leave with another idea to collect. Leave with a decision. Decide that you will no longer wait for the world to make you feel alive. Decide that you will no longer postpone joy until conditions are perfect. Decide that you will no longer call yourself limited when the infinite lives within you. Decide that you will no longer chase blessings as though they are far away, but instead become the consciousness in which blessings feel natural. The universe is not asking you to struggle more. It is asking you to align more deeply. It is asking you to stop arguing for limitation. It is asking you to stop identifying with the old story. It is asking you to become still enough to hear the guidance, open enough to receive the blessing, and courageous enough to live as though your highest vision is already real in consciousness. Because it is. And when it becomes real in consciousness, it begins its journey into form. That is how creation works. First the state, then the reflection, first the assumption, then the evidence, first the inner reality, then the Udi manifestation. So tonight, choose your state wisely. Choose peace before there is proof. Choose abundance before there is evidence. Choose love before there is confirmation. Choose aliveness before there is an event. Choose trust before there is a guarantee. And watch how life begins to meet you differently. Not because life changed first, because you did. And when you change at the level of being, the universe has no choice but to answer. It will answer through people. It will answer through timing. It will answer through opportunities. It will answer through intuition. It will answer through closed doors and open ones. It will answer through silence and through sudden movement. It will answer in ways your mind could never have planned. But you must be willing to receive. You must be willing to stop pushing away the good that does not look exactly like your expectation. You must be willing to let the old identity dissolve. You must be willing to feel worthy without a long explanation. You must be willing to let life be kinder to you than your past taught you to expect. That is your invitation. That is your practice. That is your opportunity. Go forward now, not as someone trying to become enough, but as someone remembering that you are already connected to enoughness itself. Go forward not to beg the universe, but to embody the state of receiving. Go forward not to force miracles, but to become the kind of consciousness through which miracles naturally move. And above all, remember this: the power you seek is not outside of you. The peace you seek is not outside of you. The abundance you seek is not outside of you. The love you seek is not outside of you. The life you seek is not outside of you. It begins within your own consciousness. Use that consciousness with reverence. Use it with love. Use it with patience. Use it with the knowing that every moment you spend in an expanded state is creating a future that will one day arrive and say, this is what you were preparing for. The universe is ready to meet you, but it meets you where you are being. So be love, be peace, be abundance, be aliveness, be the one who trusts, be the one who receives, be the one who remembers. And then watch with gratitude and wonder as life reflects back to you the truth you finally chose to live from.